would you say that the mom was like expecting you to be a Korean daughter-in-law, or
yeah,
she really wanted to have a Korean daughter-in-law?
Yeah, more like that. Okay. It's like she was wishing I was Korean.
Okay.
Because there was a point that I was even suicidal. I panicked. I started to think like, what about my life now? Like a husband who doesn't care about me, and then I have to sacrifice a lot for a baby.
IRONA JUSEYO guys, wake up, hello sassies, welcome back to my channel, and today will be another episode of All About Korea. Pero ang topic today is medyo makapagpagdamdamin. So, disclaimer lang pala guys, whatever na sabihin namin dito, sabihin ng guest ko, personal opinion na yun, it does not reflect the whole Korean society and Korean men in general. Ayan sassies, so without further ado, I would like to welcome my guest, Mia. Come on down.
Come down. Hi.
Ano ba kita lang? Ayan. So, Mia, we're here sa Annyeong. So, this is near your workplace. Kaya ako na rin talaga yung dumayo sa kanya para at least naman hindi na siya ma-hassle since medyo magmamadali siya pa-uwi kasi she has to pick up her kids. So, I'm very thankful na hindi ko alam yung Tagalog eh. Pinaunlakan mo kami. Pinaunlakan mo ko sa aking All About Korea. I think this one is episode 4 or 5. Nakalimutan ko na din sa dami ng videos. But yeah, so since tayo sa Crate Coffee here in Annyeong. Yun. So, since wala kaming pa-flowers, again, ito, bawi na lang next time. Bigay ng ating cameraman ang coffee na nainom na rin ni Pia. Yes. So, Pia, are you ready? Are you ready? Kasi naisip ko talaga yung topic na to. I mean, I think I haven't seen like a YouTube channel, like especially Filipina na vlogger that like tackled this topic. It's all about Korea kasi it's like anything and everything under the sun technically. So pwede siyang parang medyo hindi naman negative topic, pwedeng controversial, pwedeng about Korean culture, but technically it's about Korea talaga. Yeah. And of course with yung Filipino touch. So today we're gonna talk about being a single mother here in Korea. So, as the title naman, I mean, self-explanatory na din sa title mismo na Pia is a single mom here in South Korea. So, V, take the floor. Kindly introduce yourself.
Okay, so I'm Pia. I just turned 32 last month. I'm from Davao City, Philippines. So I do speak Bisaya and Tagalog, but I'm not confident in my accent. So ayokong ipahiya ang aking, fellow Davaoenos. So I'd rather just speak in English because I'm more comfortable with it. So I hope you just understand. So
and then how long have you been here in Korea?
So I've been living in Korea for 4 years.
For 4 years. You moved here in 2017. Okay, and then what are you doing here in South Korea?
So I'm currently working as an English teacher here in Annyeong.
Yeah, so this place is like 5 minutes from your workplace.
Yes, 5 minutes from my workplace.
Yeah. Alright, so sabi mo, it's 5 minutes, this coffee shop is 5 minutes from your workplace, but how far is it from your actual residence?
An hour and a half.
An hour and a half. So crunch time kami ngayon kasi pick up pa niya yung kid niya. So anyway, before you came here, what were you doing back in the Philippines?
So back home, I worked as a child protection officer and a child rights advocate, working for a local NGO and international NGOs. So before I moved to South Korea, I worked for an international NGO centered on child rights and child protection.
Wow. Okay, warm-up questions lang yun. So ito na. Alright. So, ipasok mo natin yung love story, of course. So, you were working in the industry for 3 to 4 years.
Yes.
And then, how did you meet your ex-husband?
So, we met in Philippines while he was traveling in my region, sa Mindanao. Yeah, we started communicating actually through a pen pal site, but it's not like a daily conversation. He was asking about like where can he travel safely in Mindanao and stuff like that. So I started my contract with the INGO. So I was busy. I was reassigned in another area. So I just left him my contact details, just in case that he gets into trouble. So that time,
Hanggang doon, wait lang, sorry, hanggang yan, advocate ka pa rin talaga, parang tagapagtanggol ka pa.
Ganun ako kabaya. So, I didn't know where he went. Kailan siya dumating ng Pilipinas because I was busy with my new assignment. Tapos, it was more of a coincidence because I wasn't assigned in my hometown. So, that time, my seminar ako sa Davao, and then he was supposed to go back to Korea also around that same week.
Yeah.
So, he just contacted me if I was in Davao and I'm free to have lunch.
With him?
Yeah, to have lunch. And then I was like, yeah, because I have a seminar. So, that's when we met.
First time you met?
Yes.
Each other, okay.
Right. So, first time we met, we had lunch, and I guess he was smitten. He said,
by the hair.
yeah, he fell in love. Like, was it love at first sight or something?
According to him, it was love at first sight. So according to her ex-husband, it was love at first sight.
Right. And I did not want to date him. I wasn't interested in dating since I know with my job, it was very hectic and crazy. So, no time for love life. But he did ask me if I wanted to date him.
Yeah.
He postponed his flight to Korea and instead came with me back to my workplace. My work base, which is like 5 to 7 hours away from Davao City, and is not safe for foreigners.
Yeah. So he came to the Philippines just like for vacation.
Yes, travel around for a
And
long time.
yeah, and he's also pretty fluent in English, right?
Yes.
So it's not
So it's
hard
not
for him
hard.
na parang mag-travel like to the Philippines and like that. Okay, so people might ask, especially Filipinas back home, if you have like a preference on dating like foreigners, especially Koreans, over Filipino men.
Okay, so I always thought that I don't match well with Filipino guys.
Okay.
So not particularly Korean, but just I don't know if you're particularly dating a Filipino.
Parang you're more comfortable and you can really, parang mas relatable ka rin sa mga foreigners as opposed to Filipinos. Does it have to, I mean, is it because of your personality? Or?
Yeah, because like I worked mostly with men, and then I think that even in my workplace, nobody dared to date me. I don't know what's wrong with me, but maybe I'm too strong.
Personality, I understand.
For a Filipino guy, so I guess I intimidate.
Okay, so you met, you dated, and then and then after that, like when did you decide to move here? Was it because you're gonna get married? That's why you moved here. So what was the plan?
Oh yes, so we dated each other more than 2 years before we decided to get married. He even moved to Philippines at some point because he extended, he was supposed to come back to Korea, pero he fell in love, so he extended his stay and then he went back to Korea. And then just after 2 weeks, he decided to just move to Philippines to be closer to me.
Okay.
So luckily he found a job in Davao City. So we were more of a weekend couple.
Okay.
For 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So he was in my hometown while I was 7 hours away by bus.
So parang LDR.
Yes, LDR.
Pero kahit nasa same region or same town lang kayo.
Yes.
Okay. And then, so what was the turning point for you guys to decide, okay, we should move to Korea?
So we decided to he proposed and then we decided to get married, and then we were somehow discussing where should we reside, Philippines or Korea. Knowing his personality, I thought that it would be better and best that I would be the one to move to Korea. Because knowing him, I don't think he's that good with adjusting
to a new environment.
Yes. Compared naman to Filipinos,
you
can always adapt and
that's what I also tell to people and like Filipinas. And I mean Filipinos in general are like resilient and very adaptable. So parang usually lalo na yung Filipino wives, sila talaga yung move abroad or dun sa country ng husbands nila. Kasi one way or another they can find a job. Right?
Exactly.
Something like that. Okay, so you move here when?
2017 after I got my visa. So we got married first.
In the Philippines?
Yes. No. We got married here, just the signing of paper. Yeah. Yes, just a few days after my birthday actually.
Okay.
So I flew here October, before my birthday, October 2016. We just did the legal civil marriage thing.
And the photos, diba? I saw the photos.
Yes, we did a wedding photo shoot, and then I flew back home because we cannot apply the visa here.
Okay.
F6 visa, we cannot apply here, so I have to fly back home. So I had to process that. Waited about 4 or 5 months. That's when I went back here.
Okay, so after 5 months, you came back here.
Yes.
So how was like the transition?
Because I knew we had to stay with his mom. So I've heard a lot of horror stories already.
Mobster. I don't want to say it, mobster-in-law.
Yeah, mom-in-laws, they're wild. I've met his mother previously. I've met the family previously before we even signed to get married. And they seem fine. I mean, the mom was expressing some hesitations just because I'm a foreigner and I would be the first foreigner in the family. So, kaya yun. But we lived with the mom. At first, it was alright. And then, I started showing her colors. And it began to be difficult.
I don't want to coin this term, but was it a nightmare living with her?
Oh God, yeah. It was a nightmare.
Or is it more than a nightmare? Meron pa bang mas higit sa nightmare?
I feel like it just stopped. After 3 months, it became like
3 months?
Yeah.
3 months lang nag-show na talaga yung colors.
Yes.
Again, Sass's disclaimer, this is not to generalize all Korean mother-in-laws kasi you know naman, you guys know Sass.
Lucky ones.
Yeah. Lucky ones na. And there are a lot of Filipinas as well na meron talagang mabait, caring na mother-in-laws. But also like same in other nationalities naman. Even back in the Philippines, meron talagang hindi magkasundong daughter and mother-in-law. But minsan kasi parang sa dramas, nakikita mo na how Korean mother-in-laws are very critical even to their Korean daughter-in-laws. So, but more for foreigners. Yeah. So, 3 months nag-show ng colors. Yeah. So, ano naging dynamics like? Did you guys decide to move out? Kasi parang you're clashing now with your mother-in-law.
So, it became very difficult, especially for my mental health. But it just took 3 months that I told my ex-husband that either I go back home or we move out.
So, parang nag-ultimate?
Yes. Nag-ultimatum.
Ultimatum, ganyan. Okay.
Because I'm like, I can handle anything, but this is just too much for me, and I don't want to go crazy. So either I go back home or we move out.
And then, what did he say?
He said we're moving out.
Okay. So ano naman, he stood by you?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. Yun lang yung na-appreciate ko sa kanya. Because ever since, he always stood by my side, no matter whatever the mom says. Kaya sa bahay, kahit every day, nagre-reklamo ang nanay, telling stories about this and that. That's like what I'm not doing right or what I'm doing. Twisted stories.
So would you say that the mom was like expecting you to be a Korean daughter-in-law, or she really wanted to have a Korean daughter-in-law?
Yeah, more like that. It's like she was wishing I was Korean.
Okay.
So she was like pushing too hard.
So the transition from like the Philippines to here was really hard.
It was really hard because even my ex-husband used to also somehow get confused who is telling the truth. Because like opposite yung statements namin ng mom niya. So that's his mom. If you know Korean culture and how they emphasize about respecting your mothers and following your mothers no matter how old you are. Plus there's the wife. So he was put in between, and he got confused na who to believe.
Do you think that, of course, there's a factor in language barrier between the mom, and at the same time, did you try to work it out with the mom, like to win her over, para lang mas maging okay yung relationship?
I tried every day. I studied Korean, and then like I tried to converse with her, even use of translator.
Yeah.
Whatever she wants, I follow even though I don't want to. I just do whatever she wants, and still she finds ways and things to complain about.
And probably her expectations were really high. That even if you're trying your best, hindi talaga. Your best wasn't just good enough.
It was never enough.
Okay, so you moved out, and how far along in the marriage when you guys, when you got pregnant? I know that because you have like some fertility issues before.
Yes.
Fertility problems. If you're comfortable sharing that.
Yeah. It took us more than 2 years before I finally got pregnant. It was a struggle because I have PCOS or PCOS, so I have hormonal problems. We did meet around 7-8 OBs already, so we had checkups and stuff, and then they keep on just disregarding and downplaying my issues because they think I'm still young. I was like 28 at that time, 29, so they think I'm still young because here in Korea usually they get, you know, they have babies around 30s.
Yeah.
So they think I'm too young because I was asking like what should I take to, like, you know, balance my hormones, what should I do, but the doctor said like, come back next time, like when you're like really in a very serious situation. Yeah. So yun, we even did hormonal shots just to try to get pregnant because I wasn't producing eggs.
Yeah.
So he also had the checkup, so there's no problem with him. It was really me. So the hormone shots thing did not work. Yeah, so we were advised to come back again after 6 months. And then after that, you have to come back again after a year or so. You cannot keep on doing
that. Yeah.
Yes.
So the interval, may rest period.
Yes.
So I can just imagine, like, if you're having this fertility problems, like issues. So ang hirap na yun sa babae mismo. Plus, you have been to 7 OBGYN, and like yung language barrier, you know, like ako nga, like for example, I'm a nurse by profession. Sometimes when I talk to doctors, I get frustrated kasi parang here, very brief, pali-pali talaga. So ikaw, especially in your case na you're like, you want to be pregnant, aside from the parang scientific aspect of it, you want like emotional support, like from the doctors, which sadly we cannot really expect, although it differs naman from one doctor to another, but in general kasi pari-pari talaga ang approach dito.
It's a very
in the medical field.
Yeah, it's very different compared back home.
So I can really imagine na sabi mo, disregard yung yeah, I can feel yung frustration. So after nun, you said, so when did you guys successfully like get pregnant? Like naturally, right?
Yes, naturally. Actually, we did not expect it. Because 2 weeks before I got the positive pregnancy test, it tested negative. But somehow, the next 2 weeks of that, my feeling na ako na it's not like
false positive, or I mean, it's not really a pregnancy.
It's like maybe I was early on the pregnancy, so it tested negative.
Yeah.
Because during the 2 weeks after that, I had a feeling that I should test again because I felt like I think I'm pregnant.
Okay.
So my gut feeling na ako na this is different. This is not like those normal na may gap lang with my period. Yeah. So parang may nag-uusig na test. So it was early in the morning, 5 a.m. And then I'm so used to just seeing the one line, and then just quickly it became 2 lines.
How did you feel?
It was anticlimactic actually.
Like, were you parang NR at first?
Yeah, it was like, I was like, is this for real? Like, finally 2 lines. But inside me, I was like, yeah, you are pregnant. Because after more than 2 years, finally, parang always 1 line, and then biglang 2 lines.
Siguro ganun talaga kasi yung mga moms, parang kung tama, sorry, nagamit yung parang hindi ko alam for you. It happened 2 years ago, pero pag you see na parang 2 lines, especially you're really expecting.
Right, and we tried a lot of things. Yeah.
I tried to compose.
Okay, so I really cannot forget the time kasi 5 a.m. pa when I saw the 2 lines. I was even in a daze. I was like, is this for real? Is this for real? So I woke him up and I just showed the PT in his face like, see this? See this? And I'm like, he's like, what is that? What is that? Like, what's that supposed to mean? You're pregnant? Congratulations. That's all he said. Kasi nga, kakagising like, tulog na tulog. Tapos like, I was like, Dad, we're finally pregnant. It's like, yay! But like, he was so sleepy. But then,
did you visit the hospital to get
right away
confirmatory blood test?
Yes, the next I actually quickly had an ultrasound just to see if like it's really real. So when we went to our first ultrasound, they said I was already 5 weeks pregnant.
5 weeks now?
Yes, 5 weeks pregnant. But unfortunately, there were some problems seen.
Okay.
Like, we went to this OB in the University Hospital. Tapos, sabi, iba yung size ng yolk sac and the gestational sac. So, the doctor said that it might not progress. So for me, who was expecting a lot and was really happy to hear that from her, it just devastated me. I was crying the whole time. I was just like, let's get out of here. The nurse gave us that baby book kasi dito sa Korea, once you are tested positive and you're already pregnant, they would give you a baby book where you can put all the ultrasound photos and they would update you with the size of the baby and stuff. The nurse tried to give us a baby book. The doctor like shove it back and like, no, don't give it to them.
So insensitive.
And then the tagline of the doctor is empathy. And she's a woman.
Ironic, ha? Empathy.
Super.
Tapos, okay, hindi siya pregnant. Okay,
yes, and then she just told me...
Get the booklet back.
Yes, and she told me, like, once you start bleeding, just come back and we'll remove the baby.
That blunt? That
yes,
direct, straightforward?
In English, in my face.
Like, remove the baby.
Yes, they have to clean me up. Tapos puro bad news, bad news. And then after that, they found a cyst growing next to the baby. So I was like, when can we tell people? I was getting desperate. That's why I had to tell our side of the families to get prayers.
So you guys are finally pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the pregnancy journey, how was it?
Not easy at all.
Oh, and also meron bang change sa mother-in-law mo? Because like, you know, when mother-in-laws are like, once a daughter-in-law is pregnant, you know, parang, mas mamahalin na nila, ganyan.
Not exactly. Every time we would send her an ultrasound photo, she would complain and say like, stop doing ultrasounds, that's not good for the baby.
They were not happy that you were pregnant?
They their first message was, it's too early, you shouldn't be telling people. Yeah, that was never got like, congratulations, like how are you feeling? Nothing. My family was ecstatic, my family was so happy. This is their first couple. But it's not the same reaction from the other side. I can't understand at some point because his brother and the wife were also struggling.
And siya yung second kasi, di ba? So parang baka
kasi mas nauna
kayong naging pregnant than the brother. So you guys are, you're finally pregnant.
Yeah.
So nag-change ba yung dynamics sa inyo ng husband mo na yung relationship niyo because you were pregnant? And how was he?
So that time it was complicated because early in the pregnancy I found that he was cheating. Cheating in the sense that I found messages with contacting other girls and he was on some dating applications. And that time, actually before I found out that I tested positive, I already caught him. But before I could make any decisions, that's when I found out that I'm pregnant. And then, you know, naman sa atin sa Filipinas, we always have this thinking that, you know, you have to try and stay for the sake of the baby.
Work the relationship, work out the relationship.
Yeah, nowadays.
So did that last for the full pregnancy journey, like the whole 9 months, like his cheating stints or the incident?
The thing was, even when I was pregnant, he kept on doing it because he still went abroad, and he was even the one who said like, let's just get divorced, even when I was just early in my pregnancy, because he said he doesn't want to suffer from any kind of revenge from me after what he did. So he was more scared of what I might do to punish him rather than be sorry and, you know, own up to what he did.
But it was easy for him to say that let's get divorced even when you were pregnant at that time?
Yes, and it was a difficult pregnancy. I keep on getting sick, vomiting, nauseous. I couldn't eat anything. All I could stomach in are sweet stuff. That's why I keep on losing weight every time we go to the doctor. So he first mentioned the divorce thing. I was just in my first trimester.
So what was your reaction?
Of course, I cried a lot. I couldn't believe it. I did call. He even mentioned about kicking me out of the house. And it was in the first trimester and all those complications were happening. So I called the Danuri hotline and
for counseling.
Yes, I was like, my husband is trying to kick me out of the house. I'm pregnant. I'm just 13 weeks. I cannot forget. I just told the Danuri that I'm 13 weeks pregnant. And then I was hysterical. So she was just listening. It was 9 p.m. So luckily for Danuri, they have like 24-hour service. So the Filipina counselor just comforted me and said, like, you are legally allowed to stay in your house. He cannot just kick you out. Yeah. And then in my situation, because it's just very sensitive and still in the first trimester, I have to try to come out.
Kasi very risky to have a miscarriage.
Yes. So every night I would be so, no, I don't want to cry. I was so sorry to Ian at the time. I did not expect him to stay because I was so stressed.
Yeah.
So every day and night I would just talk to him in my belly and apologize to him. Because I've been waiting and calling for him, and then suddenly, you know, this happened. He did not deserve it. And then I keep on saying that just hang on there. I said, like, I really thought I'm gonna lose him. And then I was so depressed all the time.
Warning.
Because there was a point that I was even suicidal. I panicked. I started to think, like, what about my life now? Like, a husband who doesn't care about me, and then I have to sacrifice a lot for a baby. I had a career back home that I sacrificed for this man, and then now I'll be stuck just taking care of a child. I want my life back, basically. So I was like, I should just, maybe better for me to die and also the baby to die with me. So there was even a point that I had a Caesar on my hands and tried to, like, just do it, and then the ex-husband, he thought I wasn't serious. So he quickly, like, took it away, and I think that woke him up. It's all the hormones. Like, I've been through a lot, and I've never for once thought about, like, killing myself except for that moment, because it was getting too much. I keep on getting sick. He could hear me getting sick, not eating, but he just doesn't care. So I felt so alone in my journey, and then it felt like all the burden was just on me. So I had enough, and then, diba, malayo pa sa family. So yun, I was just so sorry doing on that time, because it was really a difficult period. And I think that time kind of woke the ex-husband up. So slowly, as we transitioned to the second trimester, that's when he slowly started to, like, act better.
Yeah.
So yun, he became more supportive and caring, and then that's when I thought, like, yeah, maybe there's a chance for this to work. So I thought we were happy. Then my parents came here to visit us. It was all fine. And then, so I gave birth, and my mom came here a few weeks after. Or a week, yeah, a week or 2 weeks after to help us out. And then I think my son was just a week or two. My husband had to fly for his trip abroad, and again I found out he still was, you know, cheating around. So that time I was confident to demand divorce myself this time, because my parents were with me. That was before pandemic hit Korea. It was around February, so wala pa sa Pilipinas. So I said to him, let's get divorced quickly, and then I will fly back home with my parents and the baby. He rejected. He
But
said,
your parents know about your plan to get divorced?
no, my mom heard me while she was taking care of the baby. My mom heard me have the discussion with my ex-husband. Yeah, so my mom was shocked while I was mentioning divorce. That's when I told my mom everything that I've been through in the 4 years I've lived in Korea. So that shocked my parents because they never knew that I suffered a lot because
You
I
kept everything to yourself.
Yes, because like I'm used to that because like even from my work before, I've always spared people from like what's
burden.
Yes, because I never want to burden people. That's my thing.
Yun lagi siya, lagi sinasabi. Kaya when I always check her up, like, V, how are you doing? What do you need? Ay, naku, ikaw talaga ate, okay na yung gawin mo. Tapos nanggaling na sa bibig talaga niya na I don't want to be an inconvenience to people.
Yeah, it's just my thing. That's just how I am. So my mom was so shocked. And then she got mad at me because I should have been more open. And then my parents did talk to him. They never yelled. They never did. All my parents said to him was, cooperate with me with the paperwork. I need to bring back my son to Philippines for a while. They're not pushing us to divorce because, you know, Filipinos.
Maybe just like giving it time.
Yes, that's what they did. That's what they wanted us to do. Have the space and time to think for like what do we really want. If we still want to keep the family or not. My parents ended up going back to the Philippines by themselves, and I was left here to try again with the husband.
Okay, V, so now we're moving to the second part of this interview. I really decided na hatiin siya kasi sobrang yung journey talaga ni V, hindi niya pwedeng ma-summarize into like just like 30 minutes. So, para at least we get a bigger picture kung ano ba yung pinagdaanan niya. So, ayoko naman sabihin na mas masalimuot, mas makapagdamdaming, at mas MMK ang second part, pero yun na nga din yun. So, Sassies, please stay tuned kasi may second part tayo. We will be very honest with us, with everything.
I wanna escape and restart all.
After like ilang months lang ba or like after a year, bumalik ba dun sa same cycle before? And you guys finally decided na this is not working out, let's just get a divorce.
He became quite toxic the longer that we stayed together. Yes, he became very verbally abusive and mentally abusive. Tapos sabi niya na if you still keep on fighting with me about the money, I will kick you out of Korea and I will take away your son. Yun yung threat niya sa akin.
I wanna escape.